Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, 5D Ranch Crafts. Today you're going to need some of these Christmas tree cutout ornaments from the Dollar Tree and one of these trays, some paint and a mop head and a glue gun. We are going to first paint our tray. We're going to take our red paint and we're going to paint 3 coats of red paint on our tray, drying each coat in between with our Wagner glue heat gun, and I just dry mine on the first setting. You can see here that some of the silver is still showing through, but that's okay because we are making a rustic type Christmas piece, and I am also going to dry brush some white over the top of the edges of the pan or the platter, so that way it'll give it some more character. So a little bit of the silver coming through won't be a big deal. We've got all 3 layers of paint. We're going to take our Christmas trees and we're going to cut the stars off the top of the tree, because I think it looks more natural to see Christmas trees in a Christmas tree farm without the stars. So I start at a corner and I just cut down towards that opposite side, flip it over and cut. And I'm going to do this to all 5 of them. Off of all 5 of the Christmas trees, I'm going to take some sandpaper and just sand those raw edges just to make sure there's no splintering or anything that's going to catch when I go to paint them. Now I'm going to take some of my apple barrel green paint, and I'm going to take the lightest green that I have on hand, and I'm going to paint that as the base coat on each of the trees. Now that all 5 trees have the base coat of green, I'm going to take my dark forest green from apple barrel, and I'm going to mix it with the lighter green to give me a medium green color, and just to give me a little bit of a darker green, but not super dark as the forest type green color is. And then I'm going to take my brush and take off as much paint as I can, and then I'm simply going to dry brush each tree. As I go along dry brushing each tree, I'm going to add black paint to make the green darker and make each tree a little different and have a little bit of different color to them, so that way they look more like a natural tree would look in nature rather than just being a flat green painted tree, and give them some dimension. Now that my trees are painted and have the texture and color that I want them to have, I'm going to take some of my folk art natural brown and paint the tree bark brown. And I'm just going to use my brush I used for the green. Since the brown is so dark, it's not really that big of a deal. And then I'm just going to paint those brown. And you can see me doing that here. Now I'm going to take my Wagner heat gun and I'm just going to dry those really well and make sure that all of the paint is dry. And then I'm going to set them aside and we are going to start working with our mop strings and our tray again. We're going to open it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip it and we're going to find that center piece. Now, you can pull these out. Once you've pulled out your mop strings, you want to measure and cut down your mop string to fit your tray. Then using my AdTech hot glue gun that has two settings, high and low, I'm going to glue the mop string vertically. I then try to place some more mop strings vertically next to it and decide that I don't really like the way that looks, so I pull it off and I go ahead and place them horizontally and decide that horizontally looks better. So then I start gluing them down until I get the entire pan filled with mop strings. Use my Waverly chalk paint in plaster and use a foam brush and lightly brush some paint over the edges of that red just to distress the red and give it a more rustic look, so that way it's not so bright and just kind of give it a more country feeling. Now I'm going to start placing the trees and deciding where I want them placed and how I want them arranged. And once I have them the way I want them arranged, I then hot glue them down. Before I hot glue them down, I decide that I want to add a little bit of a snowy look to the tree. So I dry brush some of that Waverly chalk paint and plaster. And I just used that foam brush that I had used, and I just used the leftover paint that was already on it instead of dipping my paintbrush. And then I just lightly brushed the edges of each tree to give it that snowy and vintage look. Make a bow, and I'm just going to use some mop strings and some ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree last year and some ribbon from Dollar General that I got this year. And I'm just going to make a kind of like a rag type bow, and I think it comes out beautifully, and you can see how I do that here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel 5D Ranch Crafts. Thank you so much for watching.